Welcome to Panic Button, everyone. I'm Nina.
I'm Jessie.
Okay, so we're going to be reacting to a video on feminism and new feminism. Just on feminism and how it affects everyday life, people, women, men, dating, etc.
Real quick, sorry. You always talk about this 15% like to watch, subscription to watch ratio, right? Or like ratio?
Yeah.
How does this video, how does this channel have 11.2 million subscribers and this video only got 37,000 likes? That sounds ridiculous.
As far as the like to view ratio, I'm not sure how that one works.
Well, it looks like it got at least 1 million views.
For me, what feminism is. So autonomy, emotional freedom, and agency. I also want to touch on the word guilt as well, because I remember that being part into our conversation. But if I reflect on those three words, Louise, autonomy, emotional freedom, and agency as the byproduct of the sexual revolution, would you agree with that?
Yes and no. So I think that, can I give an example that is like quite dark, but I think throws us immediately into like some of these really difficult questions about freedom and whose freedom, right? There's this line from Matthew Arnold that I really like. Freedom is a really good horse to ride, but to ride somewhere. Like freedom is all to have a purpose, right? And so an example from my professional life, which I think highlights some of the issues about sexual revolution promoting freedom, the law around BDSM. I won't go into the details because it's boring, but there's a complicated law around BDSM, basically. Like, so this is bondage, domination, sadomasochism. So people basically doing consensually violent or abusive things in sex, so stuff that would be illegal if there weren't consent, pretty much. And the law around it is complicated. The law basically says that you can consent up to a certain level of harm. And then above that level of harm, you're criminally liable. And if something goes wrong, like, you're done for it. And there's been ongoing campaigns by proponents of sexual freedom to loosen these laws and to make it so that you can consent to more than what you legally can at the moment. So consent to, like, serious body modifications as a sex thing, or consent to quite serious violence as a sex thing. Like, if something goes wrong at the moment, you might be criminally liable. So me and a bunch of other feminists set up a group called We Can't Consent to This. The reason we did this is because there were an increasing number of cases in the UK, this isn't unique to the UK, of women who had died during sex and their partners claimed that they had consented to the violence that killed them. So this was normally strangulation, but there were other, like, horrible ways in which these women died. And these men were getting away with this in the sense that they were successfully claiming, no, this was all just a sex game, and they...
This is something that is real, and I think there's a certain level of consent that we don't have to give. I don't think we should be able to consent our life being taken from us.
Or the violence. Well, you know what? It's hard when it comes to men and women, right? Because if a woman consents to, like, rough sex with a man, that's tough because men are stronger than women.
This is where education is important.
Yeah.
Education and at least the field you're playing in. Yeah, because I not to be, like, too deep into the topic, but if you want to practice safe sex, it's not just wearing condoms. It's also learning whatever you're doing in relation to BDSM.
Yeah.
And so there's two people who should be accountable. It's one, the woman shouldn't be giving someone consent to do that she doesn't trust. And number two, the man shouldn't be doing it if he can't trust himself.
But how would you know, though? How would they know, right?
Well, how many times have you choked someone? How many times have you looked up the proper way to choke someone without killing someone? You know what I mean? The point is, you don't just go into something blindly that you know causes death. You know there's things like blood chokes from wrestling. Mm-hmm. Most people know that in sports you can choke someone out with a blood flow choke. Mm. But what they don't know because they're not educated is that there's an airflow choke and a blood flow choke. If you keep your hand, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but if you keep your hand more open, you're not going to collapse the windpipe. The problem is people, especially during sex, push in and collapse the windpipe. And that is something you should look up before you start doing it willy-nilly. It's not like you're wearing an outfit or you're, like, role-playing, which is something that doesn't need outlines because it's, like, still sex with, like, a costume or whatever. This is, like, actually, like, a physical thing. And I don't think, women, men, anyone can consent to saying, I'm going to allow you to to actually kill me. I don't think that it's something you shouldn't be charged for.
Well, since women are more promiscuous these days, they're, experimenting with the BDSM thing, not with actual partners, but with just sexual partners, not like relationship partners.
Not serious partners.
Yeah, and I think that's incredibly dangerous because they don't know this man, They think they might know this person. I mean, you're allowing his penis inside your vagina. I mean, you might want to know him a little bit.
Some people don't even do that, and they just, like, make out and choke each other and do stuff like that. I'm sure of it. And the problem is...
Whoa. Okay.
And the problem is, like, especially with asphyxiation, you can die from that.
Yeah.
There are certain things you can't die from that are in those like kinky play worlds. There's plenty of things you can't die from. But use logic. If it's something that could kill someone, be careful and maybe do some research before you start just doing it.
Or just don't do it.
Well, if it's something that you want to do, it's
Well,
probably
there's a
'cause
lot
you-
of things that people want to do that they don't do because it's illegal.
It's probably 'cause
That should be one of them, I think.
well, it's because you've seen it online more than likely, right? Most people get their ideas from something they've seen online. So if you got as far as like watching it on a hub, don't you think you could go, hey, Google, what's the right way to do this? You know what I mean?
You think that more people are experimenting with BDSM because they've been exposed to the porn when they
Yes.
were younger?
I think
So they're just going more extreme, more extreme, more extreme in order to satisfy their needs.
I think, yeah. No, I definitely think that, number one, younger exposure makes it so that you become desensitized to vanilla sex. And so you start, number one, researching it because you've been exposed to it. And number two, learning more about it because it's so heavily pushed on you. You also don't, like, it's like that. It's like constantly getting the next high. You're not going to get the same fixation, like, you're not the same feeling off of regular vanilla sex versus, like, the harder and harder it gets.
This
for
sounds
some
more
people.
like addiction than just
Yeah,
like
for some
sex.
people it is. Yeah. No, for some people
You know?
it is.
It would have to be if you have to like keep going to more and more extremes. If that, you know what I mean?
Personally, I have little experience in that. Mm-hmm. But I know from experiencing the discovery of that part of the internet that it was like a floodgate. Not even like I need more to get me off, but it's just going to show you more.
Yeah.
And so if you have an addictive personality or if you have a very fixated personality with this kind of material, you're going to keep seeking more and more and more and sometimes more extremes.
A fixated personality. Don't they say that like most Gen Z now is autistic? Wouldn't
know.
that be like part of the fixated personality?
If everyone's autistic, is anyone autistic?
Yeah, that would just mean everyone's autistic. So it would become the new normal. So it wouldn't be anything special anymore.
If everyone's autistic, is anyone autistic?
Yeah, everyone is.
So yeah, it's all the same.
Yeah.
were successfully avoiding a murder prosecution and sometimes getting very light sentences for manslaughter. And I think this is a really, really good example of freedom for who and freedom for what. Because you can completely see why some campaigners would want the law on BDSM to be much more liberal. And they would say, and they do say, you know, I'm a consenting adult. Who are you to tell me that I can't do X, Y, Z in the bedroom? Who are you to tell me that the law ought to step in and try and criminalise what adults do in the privacy of their own homes? And you can see their argument. But then I say, okay, but the problem is we're all connected to one another and your freedoms impact on mine. And this all, you know, a society is greater than the sum of its parts. And if you're going to say that sexual freedom is the preeminent value, then I don't know what we do in these cases, these concrete cases where it seems to me that a terrible wrong has been done to this woman. And if we don't have illiberal laws, at least partially illiberal laws, then men who make this defense are going to get away with it. And so I'm sorry this is a dark example to like kick off the conversation with, but I just think it's a pertinent example of how freedom is difficult and agency is difficult and choice is difficult. And we can...
It's not just women that have this happen. Like, it's not just women that die. I remember specifically reading an article where a man put his whole head inside a woman, and he died because he suffocated in there.
Sounds like this is all about men trying to get off.
A lot of it is about people just trying to like. I mean, this was a morbidly obese woman. I'm not like over here
I
trying to
figured.
paint a pretty picture or nothing. But like, he died, and like, oh my God, imagine being that.
The EMT that comes in, the paramedic.
Yeah, he was stuck. She had to call the cops and like 911 and be
It's
like,
like a reverse birth.
it's like exactly the opposite of birth. Yes, it's crazy.
He was trying
But-
to crawl back in.
Look it up if you don't believe me. We can't put it up here. We're totally gonna get demonetized over that.
Yeah.
But it's all about people seeking pleasure, and I do think that we have laws restricting things that cause pleasure. Look at all the drugs that are restricted.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, you have absolutely feel free to go ahead and risk it in the safety of your bedroom, but just know that if you mess it up, You could kill someone,
Or yourself.
and you might end up in jail or dead.
Yeah.
Can say that these things are good generally. I think they are good generally, but they are virtues that need to be balanced against other virtues, and that's a challenge.
Freedom is a wonderful thing. No one would want to take freedom away from human beings, but excessive freedom without structure is not good for human beings. So I'll use the example because I talk about children a lot. If you raise your children with respect for their will, that is a good thing, right? You don't want to quash their will. You want to support their individuality and support their choices. And even when raising children, you're going to give them choices. Do you want eggs or waffles for breakfast? Do you want to wear your green pants or your blue pants? No more than that with small children. But if you don't provide any structure for them, they don't feel loved, they don't feel secure, they don't feel stable. And so what I'm afraid of is that we went too far. It's not that freedom isn't a good thing. It's that excessive freedom without any structure at all can also make us feel untethered, unbound, without connections to the people that we're most intimate with. And that's my concern. So it's not that sexual freedom isn't a good thing. It's that in my mind, it may have gone too far.
Just to add to that before you jump in there, despite the general decline in...
Actually, I very much agree with her, and I think there's a great point to be made.
What's that?
We live in a free country. People say it all the time. And we
Yeah.
do. We do live in a free country.
Well,
But
half the
that's,
country says that.
but that's not saying we're free to go out and murder people.
Right.
We're not free to do...
It's not the purge.
We're not free to do whatever we want to do. We're free individuals. We have choices we can make. But there are still restrictions on everyone. We can't send an 8-year-old to the store to get liquor.
Right.
Because it's a free country, but it's not that free. And I think that's the point to be made, is yes, you have...
Within reason.
You have free will. Everyone on this planet has free will. It's one of the beauties of being a human. And the government's job, the job of the law is to say what is appropriate, what is inappropriate. And in certain situations, sexual conduct is inappropriate and should be considered illegal. That's why we have sexual SA stuff for laws, consent laws, and everything. And I mean, it's a fair point to be brought up, is that there should be a cap. There should be a top, and then everything above that is illegal.
There should be like a ceiling.
Yeah, and I don't think that it's pretty simple. If you accidentally kill your partner, you killed your partner. It's not. It doesn't matter what you were doing.
Right.
You were cleaning your gun and it went off. Do I think you might have meant it? Maybe. No, I don't know. But you still were the direct cause.
You took a risk and you knew you were taking that risk.
Yeah,
And
by
now you
cleaning it around someone, or
Yep.
by taking this action in the bedroom.
Yeah.
It's a risk you're taking, and you have to take the
acknowledge
consequences. Take the
acknowledge that,
consequences.
and then
sex, especially amongst younger people, societal acceptance of casual sex has grown quite rapidly. In the UK, approval of casual sex rose from just 10% in 1999 to 42% in
The hookup
2022.
culture.
Yeah.
So when you say rules and structure,
What was the
Erica,
percentage?
I'm really interested in...
what was the
I think
percentage?
they said 11 to 42
So in
99 versus
99 it was
11%.
11%
of relationships were hookups.
now it went to 42. Holy shit.
I'd say that sounds about right.
Do you think that had to do with, I mean, it had to do with multiple factors, but I'm sure the internet didn't help. But
Sometimes I'm really glad I grew up in a small town, because I realized that we might have been back 10 to 15 years on society, but it was a good thing for me. I would say that most kids in my school were monogamous creatures who weren't trying to hook up. There was maybe 3 or 4 girls out of our 92 grade,
that's why a lot of people are going towards religion,
Yeah, man.
because it just went too far.
And not to be that person, but hoes turn to Jesus once they realize hoeing it ain't working no more.
Just like inmates turn to Jesus too.
I mean, I'd say for similar reasons. You had consequences for your actions, and now you're over here trying to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Not trying to get rid of them, but trying to make good, in a sense. That's what a lot of people view it as.
Yeah, because you feel rotten to the core because of what you did to yourself.
Yeah,
or
and I think that,
someone else.
especially at that point, you don't have to believe what you're reading. You don't have to believe in the religion. You have to believe in the structure it gives you.
Yeah, because people have lost structure, like she was saying.
Yes, and I talk about this occasionally here too. I don't think that you have to be of any certain religion. I think that if you need a religion, it's not a bad thing. And I think that if you want to look into different religions and see what works best for you, do it. You don't have to believe any of it. I studied the Wiccan stuff for a year, not because I believed it, but just because I was curious about other people's
Religions, yeah.
and the way they viewed them, because different structures work differently for other people. It's like a diet. No one diet is perfect for everyone, but sometimes the right one shows up and you're like, oh my God, I lost 10 pounds, I like this diet, I can stick up with this, and that's what it really comes down to, is like structure.
Yeah, society pushed and pushed and pushed to be more free, and then they became so free that it became crazy. And
Crippling.
these people now, like, they have no, like that lady said, structure, or like they're not tethered to anything, the community or family, but they have all their freedom, so they should be happy.
They have no value.
But when it comes down to it, yeah,
Like,
they have no
nothing of
value.
value.
So what happens? Where do they go? They usually turn to
Remy.
like activism or religion,
Or they start hooking up with people and saying they're going to discover themselves.
or hookup culture or LGBTQ. They usually go towards something like that, like
Yeah.
you're saying.
And people need structure, and most people aren't good at giving themselves structure.
No,
It's-
they're
it's-
not. Why
it's-
do you think our country's so obese?
And even if you think you're good at giving yourself structure, you think you're good at getting things clean and done, there's always an area you're slacking in. I know I'm slacking in multiple areas.
Ditto.
and that's what structure is good for. And even people who have the structure still suck at it.
Yeah.
But it gives them a reason to say, I'm going to do better tomorrow. Even if I don't believe in all of it, even if I just hope in all of it, then it helps. Or just be agnostic. I don't care. Do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But stop making babies.
That turn of phrase. Because, of course, children need rules and structure, but women aren't children.
Well, we're all children. Men are children too. From a psychoanalyst perspective, there's a child in everyone.
Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
but I think when we're talking about rules and grown women, we are really, really in dangerous water, because we are looking at a society that is increasingly closing down on women and telling women where they could do better, be better. If we're looking at an extreme example, we're looking at Iran in 1970s and women in parliament and women walking around as part of the sexual revolution in miniskirts and having a wonderful time. And then you're looking at women in Iran now, you're looking at women in Afghanistan now. Women in Afghanistan now have rules and they have structure. They can't stand near a window. They can't leave a house without a man. They can't they can't use their voice in public. They can't sing. Like, anything that says rules to me, I'm immediately like, firstly, our society has plenty of structure. We have a lot of structure. We all have to work to make a living.
Two things. That's not our society. That's their society. That's not your society, because you have a British accent. That's their society. Am I wrong?
I'm referring to what?
She's talking about in Afghanistan and Iran, the women there have
Too many rules?
too much structure and overbearing rules.
Yeah.
That's there. That's not here.
Right.
Here, we're allowed to fuck in the streets almost.
Pretty much, if it's a parade. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here, we can, women can walk around topless with their titties out.
Yeah.
And almost receive no problems, no punishments. What you're doing is confusing extremes and saying that, rules be bad. I don't think they have it right, but that's also not the society that we're talking about. And the UK doesn't have laws where women can't speak in public. They don't even stop them from wearing their hijabs.
That's the funny part, is that the more liberal women, but you see it a lot in the US and the UK or even in Canada, where they're starting to almost suppress themselves with wearing the hijabs and stuff like that, and being for that way of life.
Such an
almost.
extremely,
it's crazy.
far conservatively.
Yeah, they're against conservatives.
1800s.
Yeah,
Bullshit.
it's so hypocritical. It's bananas. They want their freedom so they can preach about not having freedom.
Am
Am I missing the point?
I'm interested to see where she goes, because so far I'm not on board with any of what she's saying.
Okay.
I'm hoping she turns into something different, but I don't know where she's going.
Okay.
we are all encouraged into monogamous relationships, and there's a feel that you're successful if you find the one and get married and have 2.4 children. There's so much structure in our lives. There's very little time for relaxation or even considering what we really might want to do. I would be very intrigued to know what you mean by women should have rules.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So first of all, I don't agree with you. If I can just say that I don't agree that we are encouraging monogamy. I think we're encouraging polygamy. And I don't mean marriage polygamy. I mean multiple partners.
Right.
Young people are hooking up. I wrote an article for the Institute for Family Studies on why the statistics on the hookup culture and what it's doing to young people in terms of their mental health. It's causing them to feel more depressed, more anxious, more embarrassed, having more regrets, self-esteem issues. It's got some...
Studies show that hookup culture can negatively affect mental health and self-esteem, but mainly when the encounters are emotionally unfulfilling or driven by pressure rather than personal choice. So feeling like you have to have a hookup, feeling like this person has made you feel like you should have sex with them.
Or society.
Or your friends make you feel like you should have sex because they're all ragging on you for being a virgin, which is a thing that happens more and more these days. I think a lot of these girls feel bad that they gave it up. And so they'll, pressure their friends who are too, nervous or anxious or scared because they don't want to get into something like that so suddenly. And they'll pressure them and be like, oh, you're still a virgin?
Well, I think that women have created their own, how do I put this? Women have somehow managed to mess themselves up by believing that personal freedom is being like a man.
Is linked to sex, too.
And because men go out and they slutify themselves and they're looked at by their peers as awesome for that, women think that by being more like a man, they're more free and just as tough and just as strong and stuff.
Well,
but what it actually does is it messes the woman up, and it's almost like they don't even see it until it's too late.
I'm also curious to see what the studies are looking at, male versus female. I wonder how many men even have this type of feeling after hookups.
That's a good question.
Because I feel like genuinely most men, at least from what I've seen, don't really want to be sleeping around. They want one consistent partner that they can go to and make sure. Nobody really does. At the end of the day, most people, not all, but most people want to go home to someone they can talk to, sleep with, and sleep with. You know what I mean? And that's what it comes down to. A functioning, happy relationship is what anyone wants. They don't want to be sleeping with multiple people. They want to build a life with someone. And the people that do want to sleep around have been doing it anyways.
Do you think that more men now want partners that they can come home to aside from just sexual partners is because women are so hard to tie down now because there's more of the hookup culture that they've been partaking in?
I do think men have a harder time finding a woman to settle down, with. And I think that causes a bigger desire for it. But I also think that the culture of not even talking about it makes them want it even more. Because a lot of people just want to go home and have a happy... I know it sounds like, oh, the perfect one. Not a lot of people are searching for the one. People get divorced, and then you get remarried often. And you try again, and you hope for a better situation if you're that kind of person. How many people do you know who were only married once after a divorce? They usually get remarried because they're still hoping for that. And I think that's what it comes down to is man, woman, whomever. Very few people don't want to be with one person. Not for life. I mean, you might want to switch it up at some point, but maybe one at a time for most people.
Maybe women push so hard against it and for hookup culture also because they see getting settled down and getting married as almost like a Republican conservative thing. It's
traditional. Too traditional.
Too traditional. It's like restricting them from their freedom, they see it as, and so they don't want to be tied down.
I think they see it as restricting their freedom, but I also think they see it as not taking all of their choices in. They might miss out. If I, let's say I'm a girl in high school with a boyfriend for years, right? And I've been with him since freshman year. We're going into college. We've been together. It's being like, oh, I'm going to break up with you only because I'm in college now and I want to see what options are out there. Not because our relationship's bad. Not because you did anything.
Because I want to live life.
Because I want to see what else there is. And a lot of people say that in a lot of situations just because I think they're scared.
Scared of what? Missing out?
Yeah. FOMO, fear of missing out.
Well, the more you're on Instagram, you're going to have more of that strong desire to...
Sorry.
Well, it's a strong feeling
Fear
of
of
missing
missing
out.
out.
Yeah, because it's like, wow, look at what all these other people are doing. But that's all just fake. It's all
But, and here's the thing.
a compilation of highlights.
If this was, like, if this is the person you want to be with, you have to weigh out which you want more. Do you want to miss out? Or maybe this person could do it with you? Or, like, what are you so afraid of missing out on? And that's the biggest question. People are scared of missing relationships that might be better. And I get that from a, like, hypothetical perspective. But relationships are work. There's always going to be someone who might be better out there. And let me tell you the secret. It's always better in the beginning. Because that's when they're in their best behavior.
Yeah.
And, like, doing their best, working their hardest. And it's going to look better for the first month, but not after. And that's what a lot of people are getting into. This looks better. I'm going to that. That's new. That's better. I'm going to that.
But then when women actually do get married, they're like in their late 30s or 40s.
Yeah,
and then they can't have kids or it's hard.
I know a couple guys around my age who have gone on dates with girls who've been like, this was amazing. She said she loved it. And then they've said nothing. Like, they never replied. They never texted
girl?
again. Yeah, never hit them back up.
Why?
And I mean, that's the mystery he gets left with too. You know, why? We have a couple theories. My biggest theory is that she has a boyfriend and they were fighting.
Oh, that's definitely possible.
And she was like talking to a different guy just to get him mad. And if not that they were like on a break, then she was just straight up doing it to piss him off. That's our theory, is that she's obviously got to be with someone.
Or maybe he did like one little thing she didn't like, and that was enough to completely walk away.
And to the same, either way, the lack of communication
There's no communication.
is what leaves people and men and women alike, in this like completely dark area of like, what do I do?
You think women, it always seems like women know what to do when it comes to dating or being in a relationship, because it seems like they hold more of the cards. But they're so picky now that it's almost like, do you really deserve to be with anyone? You're so picky.
You mean
that you have no flaws.
In straight relationships, right? Because obviously...
Yeah. I'm not referring to gay relationships now.
Because that would be different.
Yeah.
I wish I had enough perspective from a straight area, but I don't. I think that a lot of women are getting gratification. I think they're using a lot of these hookups as a toy. Instead of using a toy, they call a man over.
Oh.
Similar to how a man would use a woman, because they think that's...
Why would you do that as
Because
a woman? You have so much more to lose.
They drink a lot, or they sit there and they are alone and they're festering, and they hit up these people that they know are gonna fucking answer, and they come over and they use them instead of working on themselves, pretty much.
Yeah, you know, I've always been able to understand straight millennial women way better than straight Gen Z women. Those ones kind of, like, I kind of understand.
A lot of them are depressed alcoholics. I've met a lot of people in my generation, especially the ones who are
Why are they like that?
I don't know, but I know, at least from my experience, you have two extremes with my generation.
Yeah.
You have the people who drink literally every day and just live life like there's no rules. And then you have the people who are like clean cut, edge sober, who won't touch a lot of that stuff, have a drink or two once the blue moon and get fucking lit. You know, like,
Yeah.
there's like a dynamic. My generation's weird.
It is. Okay, so my Sony Alpha camera is overheating, so we're going to have to make this a part 1 of a part 2. Yeah, because there's interesting segments within this 2.5-hour video that I want to cover. They'll be very interesting, yes.
But let us know what you thought of this so far.
Yeah, and what your opinions are of what we discussed. Have a good day.
Crawling